to Back to the Topic with
Antonia
and Constantine Elijah. Sending our love to Gabrielle. He's not well, so he can't be with us today.
Get well.
Get well, Gabrielle. So, yeah, we are here today for the final exhibition, sort of under mine and Nigel's watch. Hungry Eyes by Natalie, Anastasiou and Liberty Antonia Sadler. Bodies under surveillance, always visible and always available, yet irresponsible, controlling and not controlled. Voyeuristic tendencies, an opportunity to gaze and to be gazed upon. A reclamation of power. We are the objects of desire. A collaborative show by Natalie Anastasiou and Liberty Antonia Sadler, Guys Collective. An exhibition of drawing, video and objects. Oh, we have no video. I think video was talked about, when we first discussed having an exhibition and when Natalie...
So no digital
and
here.
Liberty, but no digital. No, there's no digital here. So they've just stuck with their drawings and paintings, a mixture of framed works and works on paper. And we do have some canvas work here as well. Mm-hmm. And it, to me, is about lust and sex and pleasure and sadness. There's a lot of sadness within the show that I can feel.
It's like confirmation to yourself of your existence through the physical appearance. I don't know. Getting some kind of some kind of feelings.
Yeah, they're definitely, all of them are, all the drawings and the paintings by both the artists have, very, for me, sort of, I can reflect and relate. It's quite a, they are two strong female artists. I think they both represent as he, she, I'm not sure. It's powerful work, it's really powerful work. Yeah. It's also got so much humour running through it. I don't know whether I'm feeling that because of my relationship with Liberty, especially. I'm close with Natalie as well. She came into my life about 4 years ago. As an artist, I went to see a group show that I was invited to by Maria Drastic and Mark Golby, who done the residency here. So they were friends of Mark, and Liberty was friends of Mark and Maria. Yeah, me and Liberty clicked straight away. She's beautiful young fat femme. When I was her age, which was 24 when I met her, she does a lot of video work, which, like I say, there is none here. Which is a shame in a way, because I do love her video work. But I understand why it's not here. It didn't have to be here particularly for this show.
I think because her video works, in my mind, always linked to micro art.
That's true. Yeah, micro arts is her. We'll probably talk more about that. We'll go off topic, I'm sure.
Find on Instagram, micro art.
I'm sure we'll go off topic and talk about micro arts more. But yeah, to sort of look at the individual works, Liberty uses a lot of pen and paint, but she uses Tipex. She uses all the things that you probably put, people that sort of take the use of paint and mixing paint and things like that. I had a conversation about that with Majid the other night when we was out, about what difference does it make if you mix your paint in a palette or whether you just mix it on the canvas as you're making the work, and it makes no difference at all. But it's as into the individual artist who's just doing and processing it. It's different techniques. But yeah, so I love Liberty's use of mixed media throughout her drawings. So you get the softness of watercolour and the touches of watercolour, but then you get the harsh blackness of like a black acrylic or even a magic marker going through it, and drips and stuff. Whereas with Natalie's work, a lot of these works, apart from one, I think are chalk pastels.
Yeah, it looks like,
Yeah, they look, so chalk pastels Whereas I've seen Natalie's work in the past, an earlier body of work, where she paints with acrylics and on canvases. And yeah, she has a beautiful, this one behind us here. I'm not sure, we haven't got the titles and everything yet. But there's
by the bench.
Yeah, the one above the bench. The painting above the bench is very familiar to the work that I've seen. She uses spray paint and acrylics, so she gets these great highlights with the spray and a really nice touch of brush. I like these pastel drawings, but I'd have to say they don't appeal to me as much as her paintwork. And I'm not sure why it is. I don't know whether it's the context or the use of colour. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's really weird. I suppose I think when she paints these pastel drawings, it looks sort of like a life model that's lying there, and life models.
You don't see any clear lines there.
Yeah,
But
maybe that's what it
is.
And also, I think because this is faces close up, and her other work in the past have been these really quite intense, beautiful faces, beautiful use of colour and highlight.
Quite figurative, I would say.
Yeah. And lots of faces. Whereas this feels like sort of looking in. They spoke about voyeurism and stuff in their sort of statement, and this is like looking in to what looks like sort of life drawing poses.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a sort of staged life drawing room in some way, which is interesting when we talk about sort of looking in the male gaze, the female gaze, and looking into something. Life drawing is somewhere, a room and a space where you're sort of given permission to look. But then also, that's the same with a peephole place in Soho. Do you get what I mean? You've taken on that board, but it feels different. So it'd be interesting to talk to Natalie about how having permission to look at something and not having permission. And it will make more sense, I suppose, if you come along and see the show, you know, because next to that is a beautiful sort of a collage display of Liberty's, what I consider to be naughty and very cheeky postcards. You know, they're A5 and they're beautiful watercolour and ink Tipex drawings. They have text on them, which is really interesting, and it's women having fun. It's beautiful big women and voluptuous women having lots of fun and sort of being in control, I think, with their being in control of their own bodies, their own pleasure, even their, you know, it's not just one person enjoying themselves, there are others enjoying them. They're very, very naughty, and I am going to have to put a little adult content sign up. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then on this wall here, you've got creepy men, which I really love. This conversation between these cute little A5, and they're cute. Although they're quite pornographic, they're sort of quite cute.
Yeah.
You know, there's a cuteness about them, and I don't know whether it's the curviness of the woman or the smiley faces. You know, they're really happy.
Humour.
There's a lot of humour going through them, and then there's this sort of, I'm going to use...
looks like a comic box.
It does look like...
Box book.
Yeah, and they're quite intense, very graphic.
Yeah.
But they're called, you know, I don't know if it's the full title, but they are creepy men. And a lot of the text on these sort of, they're square, which we spoke about last week, actually, the icons and the square and stuff. So it's a really neat, and it looks like a handmade paper. They all have some text. And it's quite threatening, you know. A lot of these sayings, I can look at a lot of these, and I've had these things said to me by men on the street. And it doesn't have to so much, you know, she's drawn them and they're all red and dark, and they look like something out of quite an adult dark comic strip with a baddie. They're baddies. And then there's these bits of text that give you a real...
For me, it looks very comic.
And they're creepy, man. They are really, really creepy. They're creepy even when you don't read the text, but then you read the text and it's just like, you know, I've had said to me in the past by creepy guys. So you've got this sort of scary realisation
Strange
of how...
the creepy guys, but in general, graphically, I like it. I'm enjoying looking at it.
Oh, as far as, they're very, very well executed in their making, most definitely. And I quite like this idea that you have this series of creepy guys, but then you have this series of naughty, cheeky, very dirty woman.
Very humorous.
Very humorous, but they're, you know, so it's really weird how we cross these lines and these barriers that saying it's all right for women to think like this, because it is, you know, and have openly dirty sex and enjoy it. Or are the guys responding to that? Do you get what I mean? Or is it we don't behave like that because of these sorts of...
It clearly says that it's fine to be naughty if it's your choice.
If it's your choice, yeah.
But like other cannot tell you to be naughty because of them.
Yeah.
So
it is. It's a really...
I see the message.
It's a really interesting show. It's like I say, you know, we've got more the narrative of liberties, although the whole show has this narrative of voyeurism and looking and how deep do you look and, you know, but these little four here are quite interesting because there's a little sort of story of, young, fun. The first one in this little series of four is just young, fun and full of cum, I think is Natalie's title for that. And then they sort of settle down and get married and then it becomes this feeling trapped. That is what that feels, you know, and how when we're young we just sort of get involved in stuff.
And the last one is?
And the last one is the one that they used for their poster.
Because the last one looks... Again,
see, she
coming back to iconic topics. It looks very iconic, icon.
Yeah, but she doesn't see that as the last one. She sees that as the third one. So it goes 1, 2. She sees it as going 1, 2, 3, 4. I think people will read it sort of top next, bottom next.
Yeah.
From sort of, what am I saying? From left to right.
Left to right.
To left to right and then left to right. But she's wanting, so I don't know whether she's going to number them. I'm not sure. But I don't know what her plan is. I don't think she is, but I quite like that confusion. It's like, so do we get married and then feel the pressure and then just continue living in this iconic idea of what family is? Or do we go the way that she reads it is young, fun, full of cum, and then settle down, and then family comes, and then the hand of stress on the head, which has how many fingers, by the way? It's a monster hand. Is it considered, or how many has it got? There's more than 5, isn't there?
More than 5, definitely. I can see 7.
7. So yeah, that's the just sort of grabbing you out of your head, and that's how you feel. So it's a nice little narrative.
And
really
technique, the way it is drawn. Is it markers or?
I'm not sure. I think let me come and let's get a closer look. I think it's paint, but she's used pen as well by the looks of it. She's got a really lovely touch with the paintbrush. See, but elements of this do feel like a felt pen, don't they? Like a felt tip, yeah. So it could be mixed media as well. I quite like the way he is sort of looking at her and she's looking at us.
She's looking away.
Yeah, she's
the drawing technique or painting technique is different again. So she...
this is newer work, and this sort of feels a lot like her older stuff.
Like and 3 different techniques from the same artist.
From the same, no, you're right. Yeah, whereas Liberties feels that, you know, she has a technique and she sort of, you know, adds a message but sticks with that them dark lines that really make the work pop. Even in the little naughty watercolours, the black ink line, the black pen line just makes things. Every word you say is lost in my ass. You've got to come along just to read the text on some of these. They're so funny. She's Liberty loves Carry On movies, and I don't know if you know, they're British Carry On films from the 70s, and they were very naughty, very tongue-in-cheek. Do you understand what tongue-in-cheek means? It's
I'm guessing.
like you know, quite jokey, quite sort of ironic, and she sees herself as a female Sid James. Sid James was one of the very cheeky male characters. Hattie Jake's character, which if you don't know who they are, but they're quite iconic British, and her work, especially the sort of A5 watercolours, definitely have a feel of that going on. She's got a lot of humour.
Yeah, there is a lot of conversation and a lot of details actually.
Yeah. You know, these three beauties, they're just sort of being watched over and made to feel guilty for their pleasures, and their pleasures can be, you know, and here we have cake and pie. And
what is the third one?
This is like a melting gelatine sort of. She described it to me earlier. Someone that they're worshipping. I can't recollect. We had so many
conversations. Is it something with
today.
making like human alike?
Making
human alike.
Maybe, but no. I think
No?
it was something else. It was something. It was the power. It was representing. It represents something. It's not a true. It does have a face, but it's got these melting, fatty gobdule things. I think this is to do with, you know, Liberty's work deals a lot with body positivity, especially, you know, some of her film works that I've seen, especially, and about, you know, embracing yourself, loving yourself, and acceptance, and, you know, and the guilt. That, you know, for myself, this is one of the reasons why me and Liberty connected. You know, she's in a much better place and more confident with her physical self than I was at sort of 20, you know, she's 28 now, but like I say, 24 when I met her, and that's something that appealed to me a lot, and we connected very much on that topic of body positivity, because it's stuff, you know, I said before the other week that, you know, I was never represented, except in a bad way. Do you get, you know, fat bodies were only ever, if they were ever represented, especially fat female bodies, it was always in a sort of unhealthy, sort of negative way. And I think this sort of feeds into that. This painting's quite sad, I think. It makes me feel quite sad. The character that Liberty paints, the female character that Liberty paints in a lot of her works.
Is there
this sort of round-headed, bald, rosy-cheeked character? She always has quite a, you know, in a lot of the work that I've seen of Liberty's around this sort of character, her face is always quite sad, you know, and I think it relates to how we're made to feel within society around food and around exercise and around all of these things. So this painting is very intense. It was when they were doing the hanging, you know, there's a sort of, the way this gallery space works, we've talked about it before with the space as you walk up the aisle. Sometimes it's quite tempting to just put the biggest painting
the strongest
in the view, and you know, what you consider the strongest painting because it's big and it's powerful to put it. And we tried it there, and it was just, it didn't want anything else with it if it had gone on the big wall. And when we sort of held it up on that wall, all three of us just went, yeah, she just needs a wall all to herself.
Three of you.
The three of them, yeah. The three of us and the three of them need a wall all to the same. But I love the colour highlights in the cake. That is such a good cake. You sort of want that cake. You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh my God, if someone turned up with that.
It's green.
It is green, which I don't know. Wonder what that is. Mint icing.
Oh yeah.
I don't really like mint in cakes.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, like in terms of cake, it doesn't look like very attractive, delicious, sweet cake.
But it looks really nice because of the green as well. It looks nice and bright in the picture. But no, I don't know whether Jodie likes that bloody red velvet. Do you know red velvet cakes? Have you seen them? It's like a red sponge, but it's chocolate flavoured. But what they do, just put loads of red food colouring in, I think, to make it look red. So the sponge looks red. But it's a deep red, a bit like the red in these pastel drawings. But then they put a buttercream, sort of white butter, and it's like Jodie's favourite cake, and I don't understand it really, red velvet cake. And it's just really, it don't taste. I think you can taste the flavouring in it. I'll have to get you one next time.
Oh, okay.
To get you. I imagine green would be something like mint icing. Like mint
it looks like
icing.
mint, yeah.
Yeah.
With
raspberries.
Because of the details, 'cause it has a lot of details there. It looks attractive.
Yeah.
I mean, delicious. I mean, attractive for eating.
For eating. Well, when we, it was quite funny because we sort of started hanging the work, and I only put the lights that we can switch on at the wall. So we started that, and then after a couple of, and I do this all the time. We sort of start hanging the work in just the half light, and then I remember, oh shit, we've got other lights, and we ping them on when half the work is up, and especially this one because of the beautiful white highlights and the gold spray, the one behind us, that it just went ping. It's definitely an interesting show. I'm very, very curious to see what sort of responses we get. People think different about what is acceptable to look at. You know, we had a talk about it. We spoke about censorship, and you know, I have never censored anything that goes in Cave. Obviously, I think I may have a problem. You know,
Cave is censoring itself.
Now maybe, yeah.
Not people who stay and people who want to exhibit here. It's as a result.
You know, if I felt that any of the work at Cave was too offensive, not just this work, but in general, you know, I've had lots of different types of work here.
I saw many naughty ones in many different ways, but I couldn't say that anything offensive here.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't remember
And also,
anything.
it's quite, we had the discussion, I says, you know, if it was photography, maybe that would be different, you know, if these were all live photos, these little drawings, you know, they're all very pornographic. You know,
if it would be
you know, so if it was photography,
it would be
then I would have, I suppose we'd make it into a little peep show, and you'd have a little curtain or something to.
That's a good point. So,
which straight away just gives it a different context then anyway, because then it just becomes a bit creepy. Whereas because they're drawings and they're bright and they're colourful and they're sort of quite comical with big pointy up titties, and then that somehow validates them to not offend as much as if it was just.
In some ways, it looks like is it
pornography.
caricature?
Yeah, I suppose she could be quite. It's weird caricature, you know. I love, you know, if you can do good caricature drawings, it's clever, you know. But what a caricature does is picks out your most defining feature and just exaggerates it.
Yeah.
You know, so if you've got quite a big nose, the caricaturist will go big nose and make your nose really big. So I suppose because Morris does, sorry. Nigel was just interrupted. We love Cave. This is the sort of shit we're gonna really miss when we're at Cave, you know. There's Morris dancers outside. If you can listen, if I go quiet for a bit. Have you seen Morris dancing before? Say sort of like a folk dance. Probably there'd be stuff similar to it, you know, in all countries. But Morris dancers, they wear bells on their ankles and they dance around a maypole for May Day. So, you know, there's a celebration of May where they have a pole with ribbons and everyone swings and dances around. And they do that, but Morris dancers, they have sticks that they clap. Each person has a stick and they go into each other and click their sticks. That's what you can hear, the clacking.
Yeah. Why they're dancing?
That's so funny. I don't know why they're dancing. They're dancing out on the street. I feel like we should go and have a look. If we was on film, if this wasn't a podcast and was a film, then we'd go and film it. But something to change our topic. We start talking about Morris dancers now. And and they do this hitting the stick thing. It's to do with folk, it's a type of folk dancing. But why they're on Morton Street outside the pub that's now open. Did you notice that the pub was open as you come past? That's nice. It was nice to see the pub open. The Pride's been shut. I think it opened for a week with new people at the beginning, then got locked down last March. But Morris dancers outside. How weird is that? So have you got something like that in Latvia? Do you have like traditional dancers that do, you know, that goes back in time? I feel like I've seen...
Not in the centre of the city at night.
Not randomly on a Wednesday. Not randomly, there's usually some kind of celebration. You know, in London we just get random Morris dancers on a Wednesday. But so would... Because I've seen Russian dancing and things like that, so... Them sort of traditional, and they wear traditional outfits and stuff. So when would you get that sort of thing happening in Latvia? That sort of celebrations?
It's good to remember that Latvia and Russian dance is two different cultures.
It's completely different. I
Just
know,
because I'm kind of carrying two cultures, so that's why
I mentioned both.
Mixed.
Do they sort of overlap? Is it quite similar? Say traditional Latvian dancing to traditional Russian dancing?
Obviously, all nations who are living next to each other for a very long time, there's kind of adopting some details, some moments of each other culture. So in that way, they have some common moments and common words and languages.
And what about the outfits? Because I love the costumes, the different costumes that different cultures wear for their sort of that traditional sort of folk dancing. And when we was in, you know, I've been to Canada and they have stuff there and traditional folk stuff. But when we went to Eastern Europe, to Romania, and it was amazing there, the costumes and everything, and the dancing. In Romania, in Sighișoara, in the square over Christmas time.
Something about Russian traditional, I think it's worth to, like, usually before the pandemic, around the springtime, in Trafalgar Square there is a big festival, Maslenitsa?
Say again?
Maslenitsa.
Maslenitsa.
I'm getting confused because I haven't celebrated it. So after lockdown, everything is mixed in my head. But I think it's the week before the Great Lent. You're going starring for 40 days and after you're celebrating Easter.
Okay. So like Lent.
Lent, what I said. So the week, like Pancake Week.
So,
but it's a big festival for Russians, and I used to see it in the Trafalgar Square being celebrated.
Okay, nice.
So, and technically I never watched it, but I seen it was happening. So it is pagan. I mean, not related to religion.
So
that probably would look more like
Morris dancing.
No, I don't know. Like
I want to show you
Russian traditional and dancing, or maybe they would more dress as a traditional. It is back home. There was something like that. Russians were celebrating more, we're trying to dress as in more traditional way.
In more traditional dress.
Latvian traditional is the most traditional holiday is Ligua. When the night is the shortest and
the longest, the shortest, the longest day, and the shortest night. So summer solstice.
Yeah.
Solstice. Okay.
So it is on the end 20-something June.
June.
Yeah.
Yeah, the longest day.
Yeah, it's
21st,
very.
I think, isn't it? 21st of June.
Someone
tell me.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very traditional, very Latvian holiday, and kind of probably the most important, or almost most important, like the big one.
Yeah, no, summer solstice is important. So it's definitely more got a pagan type feel as well then to it, because which I think, I had friends who were Morris dancers and naturists actually. They liked being naked and going on sort of nature reserves and nature holidays, and they also done Morris dancing, but I don't think they done Morris dancing naked. I think they wore their outfits to do the Morris dancing. I don't know whether they done. That would be quite funny. But yeah.
Back to the topic, sponsored by Cave.
Back to the topic, sponsored by Cave.
Back to the topic, it's sponsored by
Sorry. So go on.
Yeah, this exhibition not only like about paintings, but it has sculptural elements.
It does have sculptural elements, which we love. This was, watching Natalie and Liberty also collaborate together on a thing they do, which is the Guys Collective, and what they do, they get artists together and curate, so it's a curational thing that they've got going with the two of them. And it was interesting listening to them today. It was sometimes curating.
Was it curated by them, or it was?
It was curated by them. I was sort of in and out, a bit like, it was quite nice. It was a bit like Irene and Marie the other week. I was in my studio and I was in and out, but they sort of, they know what they're trying to say with their work, and I gave them little bits of advice. They'd call me in. Most of the things they tried, they called me in. The one thing that was the naughty watercolours, the naughty corner we call it. The naughty watercolours, Liberty has hundreds of these. She has many. She had a whole sort of file of them. And she says, I've brought them with me, but obviously if they're too sensitive, I said, no, I don't, we had the whole conversation around censoring. And she was sort of talking about maybe picking sort of just a couple of them or something. And
then
we sort of spoke about, and I
50
said, well, the thing is, she loved, one thing, I love it when, not all artists spot it. The one thing I love about this space is the curve and the wall curve. I think we've spoken about it before.
The corner, which actually isn't a corner.
Isn't a corner. And a lot of people don't notice it. It's interesting, for me, I deal more with space.
I kind of know it, but I always forgetting about it.
Forget it. And one thing, Liberty really picked up on it, and obviously because of the curves of the beautiful bodies in this exhibition, there's lots of beautiful curves in all the beautiful women in the drawings. And we spoke about, I remember going to, I think it was the Sensations show at the Saatchi, and it was quite a lot of years ago. It was one of them sort of, and I remember it because I took Jodie with me, and I used to take Jodie to the Saatchi. Like, I haven't been back to the Saatchi since he hit his wife.
Yeah, I know the gallery, I know the name, but I've never been there, and I'm not sure if I will be.
Well, no, the thing is, it's a nice gallery, it's a very nice gallery, and they have some quite good shows there.
Me, like, in a child protesting, I think, on my second, or especially in my third year, first third year, because I did 2 third years. Yeah. On the second year, I just got into protesting mode.
Right, yeah.
And the more they were pushing us, go to the galleries, learn about it. No,
Yeah.
If you say so, I'm not gonna go to museums, galleries. It's nothing to me. I'm not interested.
The thing is, it's funny.
And since that, I'm
Saatchi,
not going anywhere.
the Saatchi was a gallery that I used to go to before I went to art school, and the reason why, it was always, I don't know whether it still is now, but I can imagine it is. It was always a really good gallery to take your kids to, because it was free for a start, and that is one thing. They were always, you know, it had a lot of, because it's up on the King's Road in Chelsea, and you'd have a lot of sort of Chelsea mums would take their, in buggies, small children. And, you know, there was a bit of freedom from him in a way. It was sort of big space, especially if it was raining. So I used to take Jodie quite regularly. It was somewhere to sort of go, and she could sort of see Smart, run around, and I'd get to see Smart. And we'd gone this one time, and I remember, I'm sure it was a Sensation show, and Jodie's got into the room. She was probably about 10. Yeah, so it's got to be 10 years ago maybe. And we walked into one of the big galleries, and there was 3 massive, you know, easily as big as Liberty's big painting here, images of women in a full hijab. The hijab is just the scarf, and I think the hijab where they cover their whole face, so it's just their eyes showing. Yeah. So there was 3 massive portraits of 3 people with near enough their faces covered. They were huge. And then when you went up close to them, when Jodie went up close, it was all made out of sort of tiles, of little fractals, squares, from pornographic magazines. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. So from far away, it just looked like these portraits, but then when you went up really close and looked close, it was these sort of fractaled tiles of pornographic images, real pornographic images. And I remember Jodie sort of clocking it and going, "Oh, Mum, they're rude pictures." Do you get what I mean? Once she sort of got up close, and you just go, well, you know, as parents, we make choices as to whether we go to see certain shows or galleries, you know, and that's why I will put a sign up for this, just giving a warning that it contains adult content, or what's considered as adult content. And I would put that. So we sort of discussed, and she said, "Oh, I don't know, I'll just pick a few." And I said, "Just put them all up, just get them all up, but make it." And so it was, that's how this came about. And she says, "Oh, I work with the curve of the wall," because the curve of the pictures. Yeah. And it looks like, and what it does from far away, you're looking, and it's just like lots of nice colours, these sort of abstract colours. You have to get up close and go, "Oh, they're naughty." And whereas if she just picked, because there was one, we weren't sure. She said, do you think it needs any more? And I said, "Oh, try one portrait sort of right at the top, within the curve." And we found this one, and it was a great photo. I don't know whether she put it in. It was really cheeky, but very funny. And she's put it up there, and it sort of stood out like a sore thumb away from the rest. And it was like, no, stick with the curve. And what's nice about it is, unless you get up close, you don't, you know, you just sort of go, "Oh, what's that?" And then when you get up close, you go, "Oh, that's so naughty, that's someone's bottom hole." Yeah. Do you get what I mean? And "Oh no, look at that." And it does do that naughty postcard sort of.
It's kind of friendly, I would say.
They are friendly, aren't they?
Yeah, if you like pornography, I don't know about pictures, about videos usually. Or maybe why mainly people don't like or pretend don't like it, because it is kind of aggressive and forces you to get into the
of course. Well, in
but we don't like to be forced. But here it's not forcing. It's just, "Hi, hello, I'm bright and happy."
Exactly.
When you have time, come closer.
Come closer, and then maybe depending on your makeup and how you view pornography or how you view sex and pleasure, which is what they are about. They are so pleasurable. You know, you sort of look at them and you go, "Oh my God, they're really naughty." But we've all been in, you know, everyone's sort of little fantasy is somewhere on that wall. Like, you know what I mean? Your own, everyone's individual little, even if they don't want to admit it.
Coming back to when I mentioned caricature, actually, it's not caricature because it has anything offensive.
No.
Again, it's friendly, welcoming.
Friendly and welcoming, and beautiful. You know, the women that Liberty draws, I love. Do you know what I mean? They're very.
Like I can guess that that way also making laugh on herself.
Yes, she said some of it is real. It's
doesn't matter from real life or from fantasies
from her fantasies.
But in general,
Yeah, and she says I'm naughty. She's so naughty. You've got to come and meet her. Well, not you, but the audience. You know, if you get the chance to get down. I was listening to them. They've been friends for I think a long. That they met. I'm not sure whether they met before their MA or while they were on their MA, but you can tell just by listening to them that they're good friends and they do laugh and joke and they're very naughty, the two of them. They're two very, very naughty young women. And they giggle a lot, and that was really sweet. And you can hear their relationship as friends while they were doing the curators, which was so fun. You know, this pleasure and love and fetish and fantasy, all these things are naturally within us as human beings. You know, we're all different. You know, we watched Gogglebox, me and Nigel, the other day.
What they were watching?
They were watching morning telly, and it was Philip Schofield and
morning.
In the morning, it was morning TV.
Not moaning.
Not moaning, morning, or morning as in someone's died. No, morning. 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 They were watching the Holly and Phil on This Morning, or the morning television programme. And there was a woman from America who for the last 20 years has made a very, very good living by farting. And Holly was in stitches on the telly. And she turned around and said to the woman, and the woman was so funny, so is it a sexual thing? And the woman just went, yeah, of course, you know. And this woman gets paid a lot of money for her video farts, you know. So fetish comes in all shapes and all forms and all kinds of people. And you know, you met this woman in the street, you would never in a million years think she was making money farting for people online. You know, being talkative and seeing imagery like this, you know, it sort of shouldn't really be. It's a shame sometimes for me that it's shocking, and I know we're all different and we have different, I suppose, moral standards. Do you get what I mean? People put morals around sexuality and sexual behaviours.
Yeah, I came from the family with, morals.
Yeah, well, we've all got morals, but they had type. They had high moralistic.
Yeah.
You know, based on religion, or was it just
no? Soviet Union.
Okay.
Religion.
Right,
Some people were religion during the time. Like on my father's side, family, they were religious. My mother's side aren't, or whatever.
Yeah.
Not. But for some reason, we picked more from my mother side.
From your mother's side, yeah.
So
it's fascinating, you know, the whole.
Like, if you would know my mom, and you know me.
Yeah.
Like, there is no way to say me what not to do.
Right, yeah.
And she's not that kind of person who would say you something to do or not to do.
Yeah.
She's very, in that way, quiet person.
Yeah. But also accepting
somehow
to
it's just,
do as you need to do, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I mean...
and not making judgment on people.
That I learned here.
You know, but also not making judgments on people
No, I mean,
because of their...
Maybe it was coming... as children, we were copying the way of behaving of our mother. That's why maybe... Like anything, like all naughty stuff, it was like, no, it's bad. It's no way.
Yeah. I think
we weren't like. My mom doesn't swear at all.
Yeah.
Word sex is very sensitive, so we never pronounce it.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
So in that way.
And I think that's probably more common than it the other way round, you know, where people are sort of, you know, that openly sort of talk about or introduce.
It's very,
you know.
maybe it's very common, but actually it's very bad for the mental health for people.
It's a hard one. It is a hard one. You know, you can.
I naturally myself like living independent life, but by myself, so nobody could tell me what to do, what not to do.
Yeah.
I was deciding myself.
You do it yourself.
Yeah, it was very much freedom.
Well, yeah. And you have
but yeah, like after leaving having independent life, so I more allow myself to be myself, like
and
more
less.
free, so I can sway if I want to. Like
so the thing is, I think with pornography,
I don't find anything bad about pornography.
No, exactly.
Very useful.
It is very useful, isn't
Yeah.
it? No, too right. And you know, this. I think it comes different
And
things.
there
There's
is
religion.
nothing to be ashamed of, for example. Yeah.
Never. And that is the. You know, if anything, you should be more ashamed of behaving like this.
Yeah.
And being a creep and making, you know.
This I find really strange because like behaving like this is completely right. Yeah, you shouldn't be. It's like it's a portrait of bad stereotype of a male.
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
And it is stereotypical.
But graphically, if straight away, I'm very
They're
attracted
really
to it.
interested, them, aren't they? They are really interested. Really interested.
Maybe it has some kind of brutality. Maybe that's why I'm attracted to it.
Maybe. They are really intense graphic. I know exactly where
For
you're
example,
coming
this
from.
one
when
just
you
because
say
of the lines. Yeah.
Yeah. Be a good girl, it says. Be a good girl. Yeah. Don't you fucking ignore me. Yeah, it's you need to come down to, you know.
It's very.
I think it's ironic, you know, there's different things. There's religion, which make people sort of censor themselves and put their moralistic sort of level to a height that maybe is different to others. But there's also, you know, I think something, you know, I've got friends, a lot of friends, that will find this uncomfortable. And that's not because of a religious
just
or
the
moral,
way
it's a sort of more prudish.
Yeah.
Do you know the word?
No.
To be a prude is to be a little bit, oh no, I can't look at that. I can't look at that. It's all a bit, and be a bit prudish and just go, oh no, that's disgusting. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's about, you know, most of us with any sort of sexual experience have, you know, hopefully tried. Most of you might not like it all, but you have a, you know, at some stage through exploration of just yourself and your partner and your body, you know, you have a go. You have a go at most
Definitely,
things.
you're learning from that because
You know, and you have a go and you go, actually, no, that's not for me. That is for me, you know. So we find our way, and especially
when we accept it or we let us like allow ourselves.
Yeah, and definitely. And if you're in, you know, I suppose, and if you're in sort of long-term relationships, especially, I only sort of can speak for myself. You know, you go through all these experiences and knowing, and things change during your life, during your ages, and things like that. But I've never really been prudish. It's quite a good word, prudish. You know, I've never been prudish about sex. I've always been sort of quite open about it, and you know, want to talk about it and think it's you know, from, you know, even when I was quite young, you know, that excitement of talking about sex and things like that, and sort of naughty things. And I've always sort of been, and I've got myself in trouble because of it. You know, because sometimes people can think that, you know, or they can make that judgment that the way you think must be the way you behave, which must mean you have no morals, which must mean, and it's just like,
these
you know, these sort of moral judges. And that's why, you know, for me, I'm so glad that she. I said, just go for it, Liberty. I said, you know, I don't censor. I don't censor. I'll protect my audience and the people and my customers. Of course I will.
Protect my space.
Yeah, and I'm very aware of that people can be offended by things, you know. But I'm certainly, you know, so you know, you've been protected here. There'll be a warning at the beginning of the gallery saying it has adult content. Yeah. You know, if you get too close to the wall and you don't like what you see, then you don't have to look at it, you know. So, yeah, it's interesting, the whole sort of censorship around what can be put. And I suppose because this is a public space and people don't just come in here to see art, because an art audience is probably a lot more accepting of what they see than just someone that's popped in to get some records and turns around and goes, oh, that's interesting.
When you said about the public space, I was thinking, kind of, it is public because it's open to everyone. And at the same time, it's not much public.
What, art spaces, you mean?
This particular one.
Yeah.
Because mostly people coming here who are familiar with the space, who know what to expect.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, they just got to hear the language in the yard. And they know, you know, listen to the language that comes out of here in the yard. They know whether or not they want to come in here. But anyway, we're sort of still on topic, but back to the topic. I want to speak about Natalie's decision. We sort of hit on it earlier.
Yeah, I'm very interested, but I remember we were speaking about allowing ourselves to be ourselves or something like that. It reminded me that after discovering my sexuality, of course, how I discovered it, I tried it physically, understood, that thing I like. And the next 4 years, can you imagine? You're a teenager, and 4 years.
4 years is
after
long.
I wasn't accepting that to myself. Like, I was knowing, but trying to avoid it.
And is that because of it's hard? You knew that it's a harder decision to deal with in Latvia? As
you know, in how
not open, homosexuality is accepted and things.
But at the time I was more brave person. I cared less than now, for example.
Right.
Well, mentally I was more stronger, I think.
Okay.
Because I knew, but it's not accepted. But I didn't care if I would meet, and if I would meet the person.
The right person.
Yeah. I'm enjoying company with, and I don't care what other people say.
It is. It's very.
But 4 years. I was growing in it wasn't capital, and by that time, so I wasn't living independently, so I couldn't allow myself to live to the capital.
Yeah.
But I do clearly remember that I had 4 years after
realization
of your
sexuality.
And like confirmation to myself, like so literally having it and understand, that's the thing.
That's what
I knew that.
You had nothing for 4 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I remember when I found out about my sexuality, it was just constant. Afterwards, that's all you want to do. Do you know what I mean?
I think especially in that young age.
Yeah, wow.
When you're not getting used to it, like it's something new.
I want more of that, please.
When you haven't discovered porn yet. And
Yeah, thank God, the discovery of porn, that's something else. I discovered, my discovery of porn was, we used to have friends and their dad had a stack of it, because I didn't grow up with a man in the house, and, in the 70s it was usually more likely to be men that had porno magazines and things like that.
But you still go to school and you're speaking to other children.
Yeah. Well, it was always there. Well, that was we used to go up to a friend's house, and her dad had stacks of it, stacks and stacks, and he was quite open about it as well. And I think it was in the 80s, video had come out, you know, so video players. And yeah, when our dad was at work, we'd all just crowd up there, all the boys, girls, loads of us, and go, put some of your dad's porn on. And we was young, you know what I mean? We was, you know, it was between sort of, 11, 12 and 15, you know, it was all different age groups. Yeah, my experiences and my sort of relationships with, you know, before I was physical, but, you know, mentally and visually was quite sort of open, you know. I'd sort of seen through just the, you know, I told a story the other day, it was quite funny, and I'd told Liberty and Natalie today when we was having this sort of discussion around imagery and you know, funny and humour. And a couple of, we get, you know, some kids had come in, especially on a Friday. A lot of the little ones come in sort of after school, they get picked up from school and they come in. And little girl, family I know, she's 5. And she's come in with her mum, and I was chatting with her mum, and she's seen one of the, we've got some little watercolours, just little nude watercolours of Hannah's. They're up on in the shop area. And she sort of pulled on her mum and gone, Mum, and it was a bottom, you know, so it was just a nice peachy bottom. And she's pulled on her mum's sleeve and she's gone, Mum, look at that. And she giggled. Do you get what I mean? And like I say, she's 5, 6. And she giggled. And her mum's gone, yes, sweetheart. You know what I mean? It's a bottom, it's funny, sort of thing. Well, anyway, 5-10 minutes later, by this time her big brother and her little brother have turned up, and 2 of her little mates. So you're ranging from 3 to 7, I think, in age. Do you get what I mean? And both genders, you know, little boys, little girls. And she's got them, you know. So now mum's chatting to someone else, whatever, and she's got them. She's gone, come and look. Do you get what I mean? And they were like flicking through these, and they're just like little, lovely little watercolours, like cards of naked women. So they're very, very beautiful. They're by Hannah George.
www.cavepimlico.co.uk.
Really taking the whole lot.
Et Turner a bit. Et Gabriel _Andreu_. Et Kostik. And this all is on Instagram.